Hello, welcome to Chapter 1 Fundamentals of Electricity. This is the series of 11th Bifocal Electronics lectures, and I am your instructor Dattaraj Vidyasagar. So, let us start the first lesson of this series. In this chapter, we shall study the basic topics of electricity. After completing this chapter, you will be able to understand the basic electricity, the different circuits and the concepts of Ohm's law, Kirchhoff's laws, that is Kirchhoff's current law, Kirchhoff's voltage law, and some basic points related to electromagnetic induction, the laws of electromagnetic induction. Now, the definition of electricity. It is a form of energy which results from the existence of charged particles such as electrons or protons. The electricity may be in the form of static electricity, that is due to accumulation of charges, or it may be due to dynamic flow of charges as electric current. There are some very important terms that we must remember for our future syllabus of this entire course of 11th standard. The first one is conductor. This term we shall use possibly infinite times in our different lessons. As you know, the conductor is a type of material that conducts electricity, that is electric current, is called conductor. It conducts electric current because it contains extremely large number of free electrons. On the other hand, there is another one, insulator. The material or the device or the medium that cannot conduct electricity is called insulator. Why it cannot conduct electric current? Because it contains extremely few free electrons. The third one is resistance. It is the opposition offered by the material or device or medium to the flow of electric current through it. Whenever, according to Ohm's law, whenever current flows through any medium whatever, then the flow of electrons is always get opposed, and therefore whenever there is a current flowing through a medium, that medium will definitely offer some resistance to the flow of electric current, that is to the flow of electrons. Now the unit of resistance, as you know, is ohm, and this symbol here is the omega, the last alphabet used in Greek language. So we have to always use this symbol for indicating the value of a resistor as ohm. Then comes the conductance. It is the reciprocal of resistance. The more is the conductance, smaller is the resistance. Actually, conductance and resistance, these are simply opposite to each other type of terms. When you say the resistance of the medium is high, it means the conductance of the same medium is low, and vice versa, or opposite simply. So conductance is known as the reciprocal of resistance. The more is the conductance, smaller is the resistance. And the unit of conductance is mho, which is actually opposite of ohm here. So the symbol of the unit of conductance is simply this omega sign, which you have to write vertically inverted. So it is indicated as mho. Then comes the circuit, the next term. Actually, there are two types of circuits. One is called closed circuit and the other is called open circuit. So The closed conducting path through which current flows is called closed circuit, and or simply you can say the closed circuit is that circuit in which current flows, and the open circuit is that circuit in which current does not flow. So it is that simple to remember open circuit and closed circuit terms. Let us understand this practically. We shall see how to learn about the conductor, insulator, then resistance and the circuit. Let us see it practically.
Now this is called the conductor. This is actually a wire, and there is insulating coating on this wire, and if I strip off the insulating coating with the help of this resistor, this cutter, then you can see the conductor gets exposed. The inside, the inner conductor gets exposed here, and this is called the stranded wires. There is one strand here each. There are number of strands, and we have to twist them so that we can use it as a good conductor. This is the insulating material coated on this conductor, and then this is called the resistor. This is a single resistor. There are color codes on the body of this resistor. We shall study about the color codes and the color code evaluation with the help of color code chart in our other lessons. Then these are the number of resistors here, and these resistors have different values. Then we come to one important point, and that is circuit. Circuit is actually can be constructed like this. Suppose I take one battery here. It is a 9-volt PP3 battery, and I take one resistor, and then I take one LED here, and now using these connecting wires, these are the connecting wires having two crocodile clips at the two ends. So I use them to connect these devices together to form a circuit. So I connect one terminal of the battery, positive terminal of the battery, to this resistor. Then I take another wire here and connect the LED to the resistor, and with the third wire I am now connecting the negative terminal of the battery. You can see the LED is right now glowing. So the LED is glowing because the circuit is now complete. This circuit is called closed circuit, and if I remove any one of these wires, then the circuit is now called open circuit. So these are the points which you have to note down: the conductor, insulator, then conductance, resistance, and the circuit. Conductance is actually the opposite of resistor.
Now we come to the next part, that is water analogy. I am using this water analogy particularly in order to understand, in order to let you understand the concept of electric voltage, electrical potential difference. So you can see here in this diagram, this is tank A and this is tank B. And these two tanks are one tank. Tank A is filled up with water, and tank A and tank B are connected together through a water tube here. Now, when this tank A is kept higher at the ground level and tank B is kept at ground level, and since the two tanks are connected through this water tube, what will happen? If we fill up tank A, then the water will start flowing from tank A into tank B because of the potential energy difference between these two tanks. Tank A is at some height and tank B is at ground level. So the water current will flow from tank A to tank B, and when this water current is flowing, in that case the resistance will be offered, which is actually the friction offered by the inner surface of the water tube. So we can treat it treat it as resistance of the tube. So this is tank A, this is tank B connected with water tube, and whenever the water current will flow, the water current will experience resistance of the tube. Now in the same way, you can consider an electric circuit. This is battery here, this is one resistance, and these two are connected together through the conductors. These wires are nothing but the conductors. So when we connect the circuit like this, what will happen? The negative terminal of this battery will supply lots of free electrons, and these electrons will flow from this resistance to the positive terminal of the battery. So the electron current will flow from negative terminal of this battery to the resistor positive terminal of the battery. Hence this arrow is shown and the label is flow of electrons. So in electric circuit actually the electric current is flowing from negative terminal of the battery and through the circuit to the positive terminal of the battery. We can understand the concept of current in the same way. Actually, there are two types of currents considered. The upper diagram here shows the same diagram which we studied here. In this diagram, you can see there is one battery. The positive terminal of the battery is connected to one end of the resistor R. The negative end of the battery is connected to the other end of resistor R. When the circuit is complete, the electrons will flow from negative terminal of the battery through the resistance positive terminal of the battery. This is called flow of electrons, or simply you can call it as flow of current. Flow of electrons means it is simply electron current. Electron current. But consider this circuit now. If we consider this circuit, for example, I enlarge this circuit for you. Now in this circuit, this is the battery, and again we are connecting the resistance over here across the battery, and here we are considering the direction of the current which is opposite to the flow of electrons. This is because this is known as the conventional current, means the current which has been considered as the conventional current. Conventionally, it is considered that the direction of the electric current is from positive terminal of the battery to the negative terminal of the battery, to the circuit or through any element which is connected in the circuit. So always remember, in future, in all our lessons, in all our circuits, we shall consider conventional current, and this current always flows from positive terminal to the negative terminal of the battery. So remember this point, you have to note down this point, remember this point for all our future lessons and the entire syllabus of 11th and 12th standard. Let us understand it practically.
Now again we come to the same circuit here. This is the circuit in which we are using one DC supply as a battery, then the resistor and the LED. Now the current is flowing in this circuit. There are two basic concepts of current we have to remember in our syllabus for our next the future part of the syllabus. Actually, the current flowing in this circuit is the current flowing from negative terminal. This is the negative terminal of the battery, and the current is actually flowing from negative terminal through this LED, then to the resistor, and then coming up at the positive terminal of the battery. This current is called the electron current. The electrons always flow from negative terminal down to the positive terminal of the battery, and this is called electron current. But conventionally, the scientists have insisted us that we have to analyze the circuit. Whenever we have to analyze the circuit, we have to consider the conventional current, and that current flows from positive terminal to the negative terminal of the battery in any type of circuit. And remember, conventional current is always imaginary current, but since it is conventional and since it is very easy to analyze complicated electronic circuits, we use this current in particular in throughout the syllabus.
Now, combinations of resistors. As you know, the resistor is a kind of device which opposes to the flow of electric current. Now, there are basically two types of resistors. The carbon composition resistor and the wire wound resistor. These are largely used, so I am considering only two types. There are actually lot of different types. So whatever may be the type of the resistor, if you make the combination of such resistors, then there are two possible combinations, and the first one is resistors in parallel. If you connect number of resistors in parallel, then the total resistance of that circuit is actually equal to the addition of reciprocals of each resistance. You have already studied this point in 10th standard. The resistors in series, when you connect number of resistors in series, then the total resistance of the circuit is simply equal to the addition of all resistances. You can see in these two circuits here, the left circuit shows number of resistors R1, R2, R3 and R4 connected in parallel. And since they are connected in parallel, if you take the total resistance R over here, then that resistance can be calculated with this formula given here. 1 upon R, that is the total resistance. We have taken the reciprocal of the total resistance, that is equal to 1 upon R1. Value of R1 is put here in the denominator. Then R2, 1 upon R2, 1 upon R3 plus 1 upon R4. So 1 upon R is equal to the addition of the reciprocals of all these resistances. And once you calculate LCM value of all this right hand side, then you can take again the reciprocal and you get the total resistance when all these resistors are in parallel. Now in this right diagram you can see there are four resistors, R1, R2, R3 and R4. These resistors are connected in series. So how will you identify first? Let me tell you one thing, that how will you identify that this circuit is parallel circuit and this circuit is series circuit? Just to analyze the conditions very effectively and very easily, remember one thing. The current flowing through all these resistors in this circuit is same. If the current starts from say this point, then the same current will flow through R1, then into R2, then into R3, then into R4, and it will come back over here. So in such case, when the same current is flowing through all the resistors, we can consider that these resistors are in series. On the other hand, see here in this circuit, suppose the current starts from this point, then it will come at this point. Now this point is considered as a node. Node means that point where minimum 3 or more than 3 branches are produced. Here see, this is one branch, this is another branch, and this is the third branch. So at this point there are minimum 3 branches, and therefore the current from here, when the current will start from this point, suppose it will come at this point, and then some current will flow into R1 and the remaining current will flow towards this branch. So in such case we consider the circuit to be parallel. Means in this left circuit, R1, R2, R3, R4 are in parallel, and in the right circuit here, resistors R1, R2, R3 and R4 are in series. Let us understand this practically.
Now we shall see what happens when we connect two resistors in a series or in parallel, or we connect number of resistors in series and in parallel. Now this is the multimeter. It is called digital multimeter, and I am now switching this multimeter into ohm meter range. I am using this 2 kilo ohm range to measure the resistance, because these are just two resistors of 1 kilo ohm each. And now what I am doing, that I am connecting these two resistors in series like this. I put them like this and then connect them in series with the help of one connecting wire. Then we shall measure the resistance of each resistor with the help of digital multimeter. See, the resistance shown over here is 983 ohm for this resistor, and the value of this resistance is 995 ohm. We have to fix it properly. 995 ohm. Okay, so the values are rather different. This is because there is a tolerance and there may be the manufacturing defects within the resistors. Now we have connected these two resistors in series, and now I measure the total resistance across these two terminals. Then see, you can see here that the resistance, the total resistance is almost doubled. This resistor and this resistor are in series, and the total resistance is now almost equal to the addition of the two resistors, resistance values. So when we connect the resistors in series, the total resistance is equal to the addition of individual resistances. Now again I take these two resistors and connect them in parallel like this. To make them parallel, I connect two connecting wires here. The upper two terminals are joined together and the lower two terminals are joined together. Now we say that the resistors are in series. Now I measure the resistance here. See, the resistance is almost half of the individual resistance value. It is 495 ohm right now. The same will be over here because the two resistors are connected in parallel. So the resistance value is 495. One more thing you have to note down here, that if I reverse the connection of this resistor like this and connect it like this here, then also the value of the parallel combination will remain same. It is 495 ohm still. 495 ohm. Here also the resistance will be same, because the resistor does not have any polarity. So remember, when we connect resistors in series, the total resistance is equal to the addition of individual resistances, and when we connect them in parallel, then the total resistance is equal to the addition of reciprocals of individual resistances.
Now we come to the concept of Ohm's law. Ohm's law is really a very important tool in order to analyze, in order to understand the electrical, electronic and all types of these circuits. The definition of Ohm's law is very simple and very comprehensive. The Ohm's law states that so long as this word, this term is important, so long as, matlab jab tak, so long as the physical state of the conductor remains the same, the amount of electric current I flowing through the conductor is directly proportional to the potential difference V, provided the resistance R of the conductor remains the same. So mathematically we can say that I, that is the current, is proportional to V, or simply V is proportional to I, or in a simple term we can say V upon I is equal to constant, and that constant is termed here as R. Here we say that this is the actual equation given by George Simon Ohm, who invented this law. R is equal to rho into L upon A, where L is the length of the conductor through which the current is flowing. A is called the area of cross section of the conductor, and rho is the coefficient of resistivity of that conductor. So you get the value of R here, that is the resistance of that conductor or any medium about which we are talking. Let us understand it practically and more effectively.
Now in this experiment we have to see how Ohm's law works. Now this is the battery, resistor and the LED, and now I connect the circuit here. The LED glows. Now I want to measure the amount of current flowing through this circuit. For that I use the digital multimeter in ammeter range. I have put this button at 20 milliampere so that small current will be measured with the help of this meter. Now to measure the current in this circuit, I will have to break the circuit first. And I connect one terminal of this digital multimeter to one terminal of the battery, and then I take another wire here and connect the wire over here and connect the other terminal of the digital multimeter over here. So you can see now the circuit is complete. Now the current is actually flowing from positive terminal of the battery going into the digital multimeter red wire, then passing through the circuit of the digital multimeter and then coming up over here and completing the circuit. So you can see the current right now is 4.03 milliampere, because the battery is actually being exhausted because the energy of the battery is being drawn by this LED. Now what we have to see here, I have this hot soldering iron. It is quite hot right now. You can see it is creating smoke. So it is right now very hot, and with the tip of this soldering iron I am heating up this resistor. So as I heat it up, you can see the current suddenly increases because this resistor is having the property of positive temperature coefficient. It is a PTC type resistor. So when I heat it up, its resistance increases, and with this we can conclude that the Ohm's law, the definition of Ohm's law is actually being followed in this circuit, that so long as the physical state of the conductor, or so long as the physical state of the devices used in the circuit remains the same, the amount of current flowing through the conductor is directly proportional to the potential difference applied in the circuit. And if I change the physical state of this resistor or anything over here, then the amount of current flowing through the circuit will proportionally change.
Now we come to the concept of AC and DC. Basically there are two types of electric sources, AC and DC. The short form AC actually stands for alternating current and DC stands for direct current. But in general terms, in general colloquial terminology, we use these AC and DC terms in different way. We get AC source from generator and DC source from battery or rectifier circuits. Rectifier circuits we shall see in our the next coming lessons. Rectifier circuits are the type of circuits which converts alternating voltage into direct voltage, alternating current into direct current. Means simply, rectifiers are the circuits which converts AC into DC, and these are very effectively used in large number of different applications. The AC source has AC voltage and AC current, while the DC source has DC voltage and DC current. AC voltage, the definition of AC voltage, it is called as alternating voltage. Its polarity always changes from positive to negative and negative to positive. If you consider the two terminals of that AC voltage, then at a particular instance, one terminal will be positive and the other will be negative, and the other terminal will be negative and the next one will be positive. So the polarity of such voltage always changes, and the frequency of the change of the polarity in AC mains voltage, particularly in India, is just 50 Hertz. This frequency is 50 Hertz because all the generators which are run by Maharashtra State Electricity Board or any board in India, they are designed to run, to rotate at a frequency of 50 Hertz, 50 revolutions per second, 50 rotations per second. Then the AC current, it is called as alternating current. Its direction always changes. Since you can see here the polarity changes, so naturally the direction of the current will also change, and the frequency of this current will be equal to the frequency of AC voltage. Now DC circuit, we shall see DC circuit. Here is the DC circuit. Because the battery is connected over here, the polarity is fixed, the upper terminal is positive, the lower terminal is negative, and we have connected one bulb over here, a small bulb. Now you can see the current is flowing from positive to negative terminal. We are considering this current as conventional current. I already told you that we will consider only conventional current flowing from positive to negative terminal of the battery. So here you can see the polarity is fixed. Positive is upper terminal, negative is the lower terminal. So the current will always flow from positive to negative, and the direction will be always clockwise in this circuit. So such circuit is called DC circuit. So in this DC circuit, we can say that the polarity of DC voltage, this DC voltage is constant, positive is fixed, negative is fixed, and the direction of the DC current is also fixed. It will be always clockwise in this circuit. But in AC circuit, the conditions will be different. This is the AC source, this is the AC source here. You can see at a particular instance of time, suppose this terminal is positive, upper terminal is positive, the lower terminal is negative, then the current will flow in the circuit like this in clockwise direction. But at the other instance of time, this terminal, the upper terminal will become negative, the lower will become positive, and the direction of the current automatically changes. So in this upper circuit, we can see that the current is flowing in clockwise direction through this bulb, and in lower circuit, you can see the current is flowing through this bulb in anti-clockwise direction. So alternating current does not have definite direction, and the alternating voltage does not have definite polarities. Let us understand it practically.
Now in this experiment we have to see the concept of AC and DC current and AC current. So here again I connect the circuit. Now since this is a battery and it is a DC voltage source, the direction of the current will remain fixed. The current will always flow in clockwise direction in this circuit, because according to the convention, the conventional current flows from positive terminal of the battery, then into the resistor, then into the LED, and then back to the negative terminal of the battery. This is negative terminal. So this indicates that the direction of DC current always remains fixed and the polarity of the DC voltage always remains fixed. This terminal will remain always positive and this will remain always negative. So naturally, since the polarity of DC voltage remains constant, the direction of the current will also remain constant. But if we replace this battery by an AC voltage source like this, it is a transformer, and across these two terminals of the transformer we get AC voltage. Now I connect this transformer to the mains power supply here, and if you take the digital multimeter and measure the voltage over here using AC voltmeter range, here it is in AC voltage range, and if I measure the voltage over here, see the voltage is around 7 volt, 7.1 volt something, because this voltage depends entirely on the mains supply. So here I connect the two terminals and the voltage we are getting is roughly 7 volt. But if I reverse the terminals, again I will get the same voltage. So this source is AC voltage source. Now I connect the LED here and I connect this resistor over here. The LED will glow and the LED remains on, and the LED is fluctuating, maybe fluctuating in the camera, because I am recording this experiment with the help of my mobile, and the LED may be fluctuating because of the frame rate. But actually to me right now the LED is appearing quite brightly and it is constant, there is no flickering in the LED. And one thing more, if I reverse the connections of these terminals here, then also the LED will glow, because LED is such a device which allows current only in one direction, because it is a diode. In our next lessons we shall see about semiconductor diodes. So if I reverse the connection of AC voltage, still the LED is glowing. If I again connect it like this, then also the LED is glowing. But if I replace this AC voltage with our DC power supply, DC supply here, and I connect it like this, then the LED will glow. But if I reverse the connection here, then the LED will not glow. So it indicates that this is DC supply and this one is our AC supply. So this is the basic concept of AC and DC. Remember, in DC circuit, the current flows only in one direction, like this, in this direction, that is from positive terminal to the negative terminal through the circuit. But if we take AC voltage source like this one, then since the polarity of AC voltage over here is changing 50 times in 1 second, so the current flowing through the circuit will also change its direction 50 times in 1 second. For an instance, this terminal is positive, this is negative, then the current will flow clockwise. When this terminal becomes positive and this becomes negative, the current will flow anti-clockwise, and this is happening 50 times in 1 second. So this type of current is called alternating current.
Now we come to two very important laws. These are called Kirchhoff's voltage law and the Kirchhoff's current law. These two laws are very important to understand the working of any electrical or electronic circuit. Remember, I am repeating, these two laws are very important in order to understand or analyze any type of electrical circuit or even electronic circuit. So let us see Kirchhoff's voltage law first. The definition: in any type of electrical or electronic circuit, the algebraic addition, note down this point, algebraic addition of all voltage drops in a closed circuit, because we already studied that the current flows only in closed circuit, and the closed circuit is supposed to be the live circuit. So we shall always consider Kirchhoff's voltage law related to closed circuit and not for open circuit, because open circuit is dead. No current is flowing through it. We shall talk about Kirchhoff's voltage law in terms of closed circuit only. So, in any type of electrical or electronic circuit, the algebraic addition of all voltage drops in a closed circuit is always equal to 0. That is, in a general term, we can say, we can use this equation, which is called the generalized equation of Kirchhoff's voltage law. It is sigma of V is equal to 0. Now, understanding Kirchhoff's voltage law, consider this circuit here. Suppose there are 4 resistors R1, R2, R3 and R4 connected in the series combination, and they are connected together in parallel with the battery of 12 volt. Now here, when the battery is connected, the current will flow. This is the conventional current which will flow from positive terminal of the circuit, the battery, into R1, then into R2, then into R3, then into R4, and will complete the circuit coming up at the negative terminal of the battery. Now in this circuit, to understand the law, consider the circuit. Here the battery is connected to number of resistors. R1 is say 1 ohm, R2 is 2 ohm, R3 is 3 ohm, and R4 is 6 ohm with battery voltage of 12 volt. Now let us understand it practically. Now in this experiment we shall see the concept of Kirchhoff's voltage law. Here there is one battery of 12 volt, then this is one resistor of 1 kilo ohm, 1 ohm sorry, then 2 ohm, then 3 ohm, and then the 6 ohm, as just it was shown in understanding KVL topic. So this is the battery, then there are 4 resistors connected in series, and you can see the current will flow like this. Now this software is actually the simulator software, electronic circuit simulator software, and now I run this circuit. You can see here there are number of voltmeters connected over here. One voltmeter connected across the battery, and each voltmeter connected across the resistors also. The battery voltage is ideally 12 volt, but right now due to certain load of these resistors, the battery voltage has dropped to 11.88 volt. So this voltmeter is showing this voltage, and when the current is flowing in this circuit, this voltmeter, which is connected across 1 ohm resistor, is showing almost 1 volt here. Here it is showing 2 volt because it is connected across this 2 ohm resistor. Here it is showing 3 volt almost approximately, and this resistor is connected across the voltmeter. The resistance value is 6 ohm, so the voltage is almost equal to 6 volt. So Kirchhoff's voltage law says that in a closed circuit, the algebraic addition of all potential differences produced is equal to the battery voltage. So this voltage approximately 1 volt, then this is 2 volt, this is 3 volt, and this is 6 volt. So addition of all these voltages will be equal to the battery voltage of 12 volt. You can see the direction of current here also. See, the current is flowing from the positive terminal of the battery, then it is going through all these resistors and then coming at the negative terminal of the battery. So it is in that way we can say that the Kirchhoff's voltage law can be proved with the help of this circuit. Now, if I replace the values of the resistors from ohm to kilo ohm, I have taken the same numerical values. 1 ohm it was here, then it was 2 ohm, then 3 ohm and 4 ohm as shown in our lesson. But now I have replaced the values by 1 kilo ohm, 2 kilo ohm, 3 kilo ohm and 6 kilo ohm, so that the total resistance will be large enough and there will not be any kind of load on this battery. So if I run the circuit now, you can see the Kirchhoff's law is perfectly satisfied here. The battery voltage is 12 volt. Across this 1 kilo ohm, the voltage produced is 1 volt. Across 2 kilo ohm, it is 2 volt. Here it is 3 volt and here it is 6 volt. So 6 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 will be equal to 12. So 12 minus all these algebraic additions will be equal to 0. This satisfies Kirchhoff's voltage law. Now, in the same way, we can understand Kirchhoff's current law. In Kirchhoff's current law, again we have to consider in any type of electrical or electronic circuit, remember electrical or electronic circuit, I repeat it again, it is for the Kirchhoff's current law is not only applicable for electrical circuits but any type of electronic circuit also. Do you happen to know the difference between electrical and electronic circuit? The electrical circuit is that circuit in which there are no semiconductor devices. Electronic circuit is that circuit in which there are different semiconductor devices also along with some electrical devices. So in any type of electrical or electronic circuit, the algebraic addition, I repeat, algebraic addition of all currents in a closed circuit is always equal to 0. It gives us the idea of sign convention of current in the circuit. Possibly there is one problem with the students of 11th and 12th standard. You learn in physics subject that current is a scalar quantity, but in our electronic subject we consider current as vector quantity. We consider if the current is flowing from one point to another in a particular direction, we call it as say positive current, and if the same current is flowing in opposite direction, we call the same current as negative current. So remember, in electronics, in our subject, we consider current as a vector quantity. So for that, we always give sign, either positive or negative sign to current. So for Kirchhoff's current law, the equation will be very simple. Sigma of I means all the currents in the circuit, any whatever circuit will be equal to 0. Now we shall understand KCL using this circuit. You might find that this circuit appears to be very complicated, but the circuit is very simple. Here is a 12 volt battery and there are 4 resistors R1, R2, R3 and R4. These resistors are connected in parallel. These are parallel resistors. So if you can calculate the value of total resistance of this circuit, then can you guess what will be the exact value of this total resistance of this circuit? R1, R2, R3 and R4 are in parallel. This R4 and R3 are in parallel. Then R3 and R2 are in parallel. R2 and R1 are in parallel. So R3 and R4 are in parallel. So these two resistors, 3 ohm and 6 ohm, 6 into 3 will be 18 and 6 plus 3 will be in the denominator. So 18 upon 9. So the total resistance of these two parallel resistances will be how much? 18 upon 9, that is just 2 ohm. Now this 2 ohm is in parallel with this 2 ohm. So 2 into 2 upon 2 plus 2. This will give you 1 ohm. and this 1 ohm, this total resistance 1 ohm from point B up to 6 ohm resistance, that will be just 1 ohm, and this 1 ohm resistance is in parallel with this 1 ohm resistor. So 1 ohm into 1 ohm upon 1 plus 1 ohm will be half ohm, that is 0.5 ohm, and the battery voltage here is 12 volt. So using Ohm's law, voltage upon resistance is equal to current. So 12 volt upon the total resistance of this circuit, which is 0.5 ohm. So 12 volt upon 0.5, the total current that will be delivered by this battery will be 24 ampere. Now this 24 ampere comes at this point, point A, then some current goes downward and some currents goes on this branch. This current going downward is say I2, this current going on this branch is say I1. So you can see the equal current is distributed here. This current will be 12 ampere because 12 volt upon 1 ohm will be 12 ampere, and the remaining 24 minus 12 will be the 12 ampere, which will be I1. That current will go into the branch AB here. Then at point B, again this current of 12 ampere will be divided. One current will go into R2, it is 6 ampere, and the other current will go into branch B to C, which is also 6 ampere. Then the 6 ampere current I3 will come at point C. Again the current will go, some current will go downward in resistor R3, which is 4 ampere here, and the remaining current 6 minus 4, that is 2 ampere, will go into 6 ohm resistor, and all these currents will meet together, and again the 24 ampere current will come back on the negative terminal of the battery. So we can say that 24 ampere current is being delivered here. Here it is delivered by the battery, and this current is delivered here at point A, and then the total current is coming back at the negative terminal of the battery. So in that way we can say that the current delivered from this point is 24 ampere, and the current is coming back up to the negative terminal of the battery is again 24 ampere. Delivered current is 24 ampere, returned current is again 24 ampere. So let us see it practically. We shall understand it with more clear practical circuit. Now this is the setup for Kirchhoff's current law. Here the battery of 12 volt is used, and there are resistors 1 kilo ohm, 2 kilo ohm, 3 kilo ohm and 6 kilo ohm. Actually in our lesson we have actually seen that the circuit was like this, because in this circuit we used only 1 ohm, 2 ohm, 3 ohm and 6 ohm. But practically, or whenever we want to simulate the circuit, in that case if you use 1 ohm, 2 ohm, 3 ohm and 6 ohm here, then the battery will be quite it will be loaded, and the current the readings of the currents we will not get properly. So in this simulation circuit I have replaced the values of ohm into kilo ohms for these 4 resistors. Now I run the circuit here. See what happens. Here the current is almost equal to 24 milliampere, but in our circuit we have shown over here as 24 ampere because the values here are ohm, and we are taking the values in our simulation as kilo ohm. So it is 24 milliampere. Then the 24 milliampere goes downwards. This 24 milliampere is splitted up into two parts. One part goes downwards into this resistor, it is 12 milliampere, and the remaining current goes on this branch. So 12 milliampere comes at this point, this is a node, and 6 milliampere current goes downward and 6 milliampere current goes on this branch. Then 6 milliamperes appear at this node, and the remaining current of 4 milliampere goes downward and the 2 milliampere current goes into 6 kilo ohm resistor. And these two currents are same on the same branch. These two currents are same. Here they are same and here they are same. So in this way we proved here that in Kirchhoff's current law, the addition of all the currents at a particular node will be equal to 0, because here the current coming up is 24 milliampere, here it is going 12 milliampere, and here in this resistor the current going is 12 milliampere. So 12 milliampere plus 12 milliampere will be equal to 24 milliampere. So the addition, algebraic addition of all these three currents will be equal to 0. You can see the direction of current also here. The direction clearly shows here that the current is 24 milliampere current is splitting up into two parts, 12 milliampere over here and 12 milliampere going downward in this resistor. If I stop this circuit right now and make a small change in this circuit such that I take this resistor downward, remove this connection, and I take one copy of this ammeter and rotate it like this, and then I connect this ammeter over here. You will clearly see now the current is actually being splitted up into two parts. See, the 24 milliampere current is coming from this side, 12 milliampere current is going downward, and 12 milliampere current is going on this path. If we reduce the complexity of this circuit and show the circuit like this, so this circuit is really very simple to understand, and here there are only two branches, R1 as 1 kilo ohm and R4, the value can be changed, it is just a number, it is 2 kilo ohm, and there are three ammeters connected. Now I run the circuit. See what is happening. There are only two resistors, 1 kilo ohm and 2 kilo ohm, they are in parallel. So the total resistance will be 2 kilo ohm into 1 kilo ohm upon 2 plus 3, that is 2 upon 3, that is 666 ohm or something like that. So you can see here the current coming up from the battery is 18 milliampere and 12 milliampere is going downward on this branch, and the remaining 6 milliampere is going on this branch. So 12 milliampere plus 6 milliampere will be equal to 18 milliampere. So the current 18 milliampere is coming from the battery and it is coming at this point, and 12 milliampere current is going downward and the 6 milliampere current is going downward on this different branch. Logically you can see this in this way, the direction of current and voltage. And with this we prove here that the node here, this node is actually splitting up the currents. The current coming from the battery is 18 milliampere, it is splitted up on this node into 12 milliampere and 6 milliampere, and the addition of these two currents is equal to the current delivered by the battery. Now we come to a very important point, internal resistance of battery. Every battery that we use practically, whatever may be the battery, you take a small 9 volt cell or a battery, or you take any small pencil cell which we use generally in our remote control, TV remote control. In that case also you can use the cell. Then all these cells, or even our 230 volt AC mains supply that comes to our home through the electricity board supply, every electrical source has some internal resistance. Here the heading given is internal resistance of battery, but this topic is equally applicable for any type of electrical source. In following diagram, a battery is shown with its internal resistance R, small r, this is small r, equal to 5 ohm. Across the terminals of battery AB, these are the two terminals A and B, and across these two terminals, we have connected a load resistor. This is called the load resistor. Means this one is the load resistor. Load resistor means that type of resistor which is connected across the battery here. This is the battery, this one is the battery, and we are connecting the resistor across the battery. And this resistor shown over here, which is R is equal to 5 ohm, small r is equal to 5 ohm, is called the internal resistance of the battery. So we have to understand the concept of internal resistance of the battery. Remember, every battery or every electric source has some internal resistance, and we have to see it practically. What is internal resistance? Let us see. Let us understand it practically. Now in this experiment, concept of internal resistance of battery, as we have seen in the lesson, that there is one battery of 12 volts suppose, and suppose this battery has certain internal resistance indicated with small r here. Then we have to calculate that value. So we have connected this battery in parallel with this 10 ohm resistor, and across this 10 ohm resistance we have connected one voltmeter, and the ammeter is connected in series, and there is a switch. Now I start the circuit here and I press this switch. Initially the battery voltage is 12 volt. Now I press this switch. See what happens. The ammeter is showing about 750 milliampere current, that is 0.75 ampere of current, and the voltage produced dropped across this 10 ohm resistor is 7.5 volt. Now the battery voltage E, which is called EMF of the battery, is 12 volt. The resistor value is 10 ohm, which is connected externally. The current is 0.75 ampere, and the voltage across this R1 resistor is 7.5 volt. So the voltage drop in internal resistance will be, because the battery voltage is 12 volt and we are getting only 7.5 volt at the output. So the 12 volt EMF of the battery minus the obtained voltage is equal to 4.5 volt. Means the voltage dropped in the internal resistance will be 4.5 volt. So using a simple Ohm's law, we can calculate the value of internal resistance as R, means small r, is equal to 4.5 volt, which is the dropped voltage of internal resistance, upon the total current flowing in the circuit is 0.75 ampere, so it becomes 6 ohms. So if you take this value as 6 ohm and this value as 10 ohm, the total resistance in the circuit is 16 ohm. So 12 volt upon 16 ohm will be equal to 0.75 ampere. Hence we have proved that we can calculate the internal resistance of the battery, and we also prove here now that every battery has some internal resistance. Now we come to the exercise of this lesson, and you have to solve these problems given in this equation and these in this exercise, and these problems are already given in your notes also, which we have supplied to you through Vidyasagar Academy. So open your notes and go to this particular exercise and solve these problems, and the answers are given over here. The answers are given here. This is the correct answer, and these answers are tested, means these answers are tested that the calculations are done many times and then the answers are tested that they are quite correct. So there is no problem of any misprint or something like that. So you try these problems at your home, and we will expect that you solve these problems, and after solving these problems on a piece of paper, you have to take the photo of that paper and you have to upload it on our classroom. Now the last topic which is remaining is the concept of electric power. Electric power, the rate of doing electric work, the rate of doing electric work is called power, means electric power. The unit of electric power is joules per second, or simply watt. The electric power can also be measured in kilowatt hour, means the domestic or industrial billing meter which is installed at our home or in industry to measure the amount of electric power consumed by a consumer by an electricity board. So that is called kilowatt hour or simply in joules. It is given as follows: 1 kilowatt hour is equal to 1000 watts. It means that if you consume 1000 watt of electric power for 1 hour, then you will be charged a unit of 1 unit decided by the electricity board. Right now, when I am recording this video lecture, the unit is 7.5 rupees per unit. Means if I consume 1000 watt of electricity coming up from MACB at my home, then if I consume 1000 watt of electricity for 1 hour, then I will be charged 7 rupees and 50 paise. So 1 kilowatt hour is equal to 1000 watt minus hour, that is equal to 1000 into 3600 watt seconds or joules. It is an hour. Sorry, this symbol is not minus, it is 1000 watt hour. In our syllabus, we shall require to solve numerical problems on DC electric power. The simple definition of electric power, DC electric power in particular, is as follows. The DC power dissipated in a device is the product of operating voltage and the amount of current. Operating voltage and the amount of current flowing through it. So we shall use this simple equation in many different lessons coming up. P means the power is equal to simply the product of electric current I and the potential difference, that is V, or you can write it as I square into R or V square upon R. Let us understand it practically. Now this is the last experiment of this lesson, concept of electric power. Here there is a battery of 12 volt. This is the switch. I first switch it off here. Now this is the battery. This is simple on off switch, toggle switch. Then this is ammeter, and a 10 ohm resistor is connected in parallel with the battery once the switch is on. And across this 10 ohm resistor we have connected one voltmeter to record the voltage, and here we want to record the current in the circuit. Now I run the circuit here and I switch on this switch. See, the amount of current that is flowing in this circuit is 749.91 milliampere. It is roughly equal to 0.75 ampere, and the voltage produced here is the voltage across this resistor R1 is 7.5 volt. Now if we use these two values in calculations, then we can calculate it like this. The current obtained is 0.75 ampere. 0.75 ampere is the current. Then the voltage is 7.5 volt. So the electric power which is dissipated within that resistor can be calculated as P, the power, electric power, is equal to 0.75 into 7.5 volt. Means simply power is the product of voltage and current in a particular device. So 0.75 ampere is the current flowing through the resistor R1 here, and then the amount of voltage produced across the resistor is 7.5 volt. So if we take the product of these two, then you get 5.625 watt. So the total power consumed by this resistor will be 5.625 watt. So with this we conclude the lesson. So thank you all of you. Visit our website on this link to download the practice problems on this topic, www.vsa.edu.in/basics. Vidyasagar Academy, trusted name in education.